Ibra di testa, Tonali, gol! Sandro! Meritato! Sandro! Gol!
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the SempreMilan podcast. I'm your host, Ollie Fisher, joined by Lorenzo.
Good evening, guys. It's been a long time. Lovely to be back, so it's going to be a good episode.
And completing the European trifecta. It feels nice, to be recording at a suitable time rather than having to take time out of the afternoon to, please the Yanks and all that. But Steph is also with us this evening.
Yes, I have clawed out of my hole to greet you guys and get a good podcast. We got a good plan for a podcast today. I think it's going to
makes a change.
Come up with some riveting opinions, which I'm sure people will agree / maybe disagree with. But happy to be back and happy to feature and happy to not have Maddie here. But I'm just joking. It's all love between me and the Americans on this channel. I do love them to bits, but yeah.
That's
I'm happy Milano on a break. So.
Yeah, we all needed it, didn't we? But that's actually my first surprise for you is that Maddie is actually joining us. No, hey, got you there. Hey. So yeah,
behind me, it's floating.
Yeah, you better watch your back.
Hands on your shoulder.
Yeah.
So yeah, how are you boys finding it? Not having Milan games to think about, to worry about, to digest, and all that. Is the World Cup break, or has the World Cup break been welcome for you so far? I mean, obviously, Italy are not there, so I guess you've had to adopt countries. Stefano's adopted the country of his birth, which is very mature of him. Lorenzo has adopted, I think, anyone but England.
Yeah, I mean, I would have supported England if Tomori was there, So I don't want them not to do well, but I'm not going to actively be like, yeah, come on. I'm indifferent, to be honest. It's not like Gareth Southgate plays great football with England, so it's not like I've got a spectacle to enjoy either.
It's quite hard, isn't it? I mean, like, not to be like I'm behind England this year. But fuck me, man, the game on Friday night, I was watching it really just kind of like every bit in me is trying to give it to give full heart to England, and I'm sitting there watching this. It's like dross football. It's like it's the closest thing I can imagine to being like a Juventus fan these days. Like watching that is the equivalent, or Huddersfield probably play better.
I don't think it's quite that bad, but yeah.
But yeah,
because you didn't concede. We normally lose 2 or 3-0. That's the difference. But yeah, that was bad. I mean, I'm glad that the two Thanksgiving, I was going to call them Thanksgiving tossers, but that's going to alienate a fair bit of our audience, actually. Let's say the 2 Americans from our usual contingent. I'm glad they're not on this because they'd probably be giving me shit about the fact that star-studded England were unable to really fashion even a decent chance against an American side that they've been saying for weeks is and not in form coming into this tournament. I got to give props to them and say they were really good, and they made us look pretty ordinary. But it's the same old England. We tend to start tournaments well. Second game, we regress a bit. We did it at the Euros, drawing with Scotland. Just annoying that we waited 12 years for a crack at the Yanks and we're failing to score multiple goals against them, which is a bit of a shame. But apart from that, I have enjoyed the World Cup overall as a spectacle. The 2 games early today is perhaps a bit of recency bias, but the 3-3 and the 3-2. Portugal have literally just taken the lead against Uruguay as well, CR7 with a header. So one of my pre-tournament picks to not shock, because I think people rate them, but to maybe go deep to like the semis. Uruguay could well be crashing out in the group stages. They're an example of a team of talented players that have been dog shit, but there's plenty of flip sides to that. The teams with players that you might not have heard of before that are shining on the big stage. And those games early today, prime example. South Korea and Ghana absolutely giving it everything. Kudu was a baller in that, and he's been linked with us. So yeah, I mean, plenty of names that we have been linked with. A couple of them played against Belgium and beat CDK's Belgium yesterday in Hakim Ziyech, who is with us below there on the stream, relative of Stefano Sartori. But he was good. he looks like he could be a useful player. 29
just a little
years
bit.
of age. Yeah.
I mean, he's been long followed, hasn't he? It's not like I think there is if we believe the links, but not even that. But if we believe logic, I think there's a route there. It's just a question of. I think it personally comes down to Maldini being and Masada being quite ruthless with the squad, and understanding that yes, numerically we are quite thick with players, and we are expecting some players back in January. But at the same time, we're in the knockout round for the Champions League. We should upgrade this side. We know it's apparent the right side is weak. Yeah, and I think it's a no-brainer going for Ziyech. I mean, he wants out. I'm pretty sure we're one of the few clubs that probably want him, but yeah, he impressed the other night, didn't he? Got the assist for the second goal, which he done brilliantly to hold off the centre back. So
he's basically scored the first goal as well. That corner or free kick was exceptional.
Yeah, got disallowed, wasn't it? Yeah,
he's just got so much set piece quality, and God, we are lacking that.
Yeah,
we
even just
really
open
are.
play, isn't it? He just he gets the ball from the right, cuts into that left, and he opens his body so well to distribute long passes, short passes, transitional passes. It's just another level of a player that like Salamakers can't do it because he's not really predominantly left-footed, and Macias hasn't got his vision. So it's really a massive step up into what we have right now.
He's also pretty quick, like maybe not sprint speed, but acceleration. He's not a slow player, like especially for 29 years old. He's doing well.
Yeah, doesn't mind. Obviously, he's always got that threat of being able to cut in, but he also doesn't mind darting to the byline, and that makes him a double threat, which I think Macias kind of struggles with that aspect. But there was one thing that I was watching for in particular, because I think there's a bit of a lazy narrative that Ziyech is, lazy, like he doesn't track back and he might compromise our balance on the right side because we know how hard the current two lads work. And I watched him, and he really did put a shift in defensively as well. I don't have the numbers to hand, and I wish I did, but he seemed to recover a lot of balls. He seemed to get stuck in. It's not an easy task because Belgium play a really strange system, and it can be tough to know who to track at times. But he did a really good job supporting the team in an on-possession phase. And then when he got the ball, the counter seemed to be sprung through him. I looked at it and thought, there is a loan deal there to be done. But it's the double-edged sword, and it's something I'll come on to with another player to talk about. But these players perform well, and all of a sudden, are Chelsea going to want to keep him because they see him as useful, or is another team going to come in who can offer more money, more advantageous conditions? And the player that I wanted to mention from that, because we have been linked and we were linked again today, is Sofiane Amrabat, who is obviously at Fiorentina and is a star of the Moroccan national team. He's just fantastic.
He's
absolutely fantastic. Yeah,
he did well against us, didn't it? I mean, we won the marginal 2-1 victory before the World Cup break. He did really well against us, shutting us down. I think we've been linked for him for quite a few years now. I think he's just one of those
when he was
players.
At Verona.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I'm sure we'll look into potential ideas for our hot takes later on. But it's so apparent, and Bader said it as well, of getting a midfielder who really can register, lock it down. Really, we don't really have that since Kessie's gone. I know he's not the most attractive players to watch play football because they just do the simple things right. But we need that right now in this squad, and someone like him would be great, I think.
Yeah.
Nice to have some physical presence. I know Tonali is pretty physical, but, Amrabat's a big guy. He's
a huge guy, yeah. I had in my head as well that he was older than what he actually is. He's 26, which means he's entering his prime years, and that, for me, is very useful when we've got a pretty young midfield aside from that. You've got a 24-year-old, a 23-year-old, Vronks is 19, Pobbega's 23. That is a young midfield, and I think someone with international experience and obviously the muscle and everything that he brings would be pretty damn good. And in that particular game, CDK got 15 minutes off the bench and can count on one hand the number of touches that he had, which says a lot about where he's at, sadly.
He's hiding.
I don't want to dwell on that too much because he literally didn't get the ball much, but as you say there, is he hiding a little bit?
I'm sorry, but his confidence is fact. I mean, if you want to get the ball, you'll make yourself available to get the ball. I mean, you drop in a little bit deep, collect it. I'm pretty sure he wasn't brought on to be a centre forward. They've already had a centre forward on the pitch at the time. They
brought Lukaku on, didn't they? Even
I think he was playing as a striker for about 5 minutes, and then he brought Lukaku on, and he shifted back. and then he still struggled to get on the ball.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll come on to him, but
yeah. I mean, we'll see if he gets an.
That was ominous, Steph.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not in a negative way, but I've got my theory of his potential future. But I think just another call out from the World Cup as well. Someone I've had my eyes on, and personally, in a biased perspective, is Jonathan David for Canada. There's massive talk about us potentially getting a centre forward for the future, someone younger in their prime who can probably hit 20 goals a season easily. And then obviously, my missus being Canadian, I've been sort of had a good time to have concentration and watch their games play, and I've just not really been impressed. And I know I could sit here and say, it's a weaker. Could you even say it's a weaker side than Lille right now these days? But or maybe they just don't facilitate the way he plays. But in the simple things that a centre forward needs to do, make himself a threat, hold up the ball really well. I saw him in 2 different games now. I just thought in 2 different levels of defensive oppositions as well. I wasn't really impressed. Didn't impose himself quite well. He's neither a lockdown centre forward like a Giroud, for example, a target man, nor is he a faster centre forward.
Getting
like
behind,
like he seems to be like an Origi mold. And like, no offense, but we don't really need another one of them. We need someone a bit more a clinical centre forward, like a younger Giroud, if he was actually more clinical at the time when he was younger, but like an Ibra-esque, Vlahovic, etc. But that's the next. So I wasn't really impressed with David, but I don't want to put the jury out on him yet. I still wouldn't say no to a deal, but just wasn't. He's got another game left, so maybe
there's a lot of players that I think this World Cup will do good for in terms of their price going up. But so far, I agree with you. I don't think it's done anything for Jonathan David, or however you would say it in French.
Could help drive price down though as well.
Yeah, which might be good for us. Yeah, and he's still very young, like 22, 23 years old. So
and also Canada. Like the way that they've been playing has been very interesting because the front three has been interchanging a lot. Like they've been playing that Kyle Larin up front a bit, and then you look up and he's swinging in crosses from the wing for Alphonse Davies, who's made a crashing run from left wing. So they're a bit interesting to watch, and maybe it's just not conducive to the way that that David's used to playing with Lille.
Maybe.
But I think you can maybe read a bit more into, because tournament football is so weird. You can maybe read a bit more into how he gets on domestically, although scoring goals in Liga is probably a little bit easier. Might be I guess it's the final name to mention is Jakub Kivior. We brought him up last week when Maddie and AJ were on. He's had 2 really good games for Poland, like really good. I mean, Lewandowski said when he got his first call up for Poland that he's an extraordinary defender. And that's at the age of 22. And Lewandowski's played against a fair few. Now, what I said at the time was, because Poland had drawn 0-0 with somebody. Who did they draw 0-0 with?
I think they drew 0-0 with
Mexico.
And then they beat Saudi Arabia 2-0. So 2 clean sheets.
But the second performance, when they won that game, I thought, there's something there. I mean, there's some doubts about playing a 3-man or a 4-man defense, and what kind of partner he'd be best next to. And what I said last week was, are we really in a position where we need to invest in what would be a 6th centre back, or is it more a case of getting ready to replace 1 or 2 others?
Yeah,
I think as well. If you watch, randomly caught a Spezia game. Right before the break, he kind of plays in like a DM role, and we're talking about Amrabat, etc., but like, is that an option? Purely likes interchangeable players. Could he look at him and go, well, you are also like a starter centre back, but you can allow us a potential future of maybe going to a back 3, or even being that sort of DM that we need, someone who's really going to like get the interceptions in midfield, break up play, etc. So there might be something in that as well. If we go for someone like him, that he might be that DM. Not saying that's his best position, but he does kind of play there for Spezia.
He was playing. Right? That's why he played when he first broke in at Spezia, and then he got moved back by, I can't remember which head coach it is because he's now left, but he's since stuck with it. Him playing as a centre back, but he definitely can play as a number 6. There are a lot of players who are like that. Players who sort of started as defensive midfielders or even further forward, and then they get moved back.
The good thing, though, gives them way more, complete composure, passing range and things like that. It's probably a good thing.
He's one to keep an eye on. Of course, with great performances on the biggest stage of all comes interest from clubs that have deeper pockets than us, such as the way of the world. There was talk of Cody Gakpo being a target, but good luck getting him for less than 50-60 million euros now. I feel like that ship has sailed. And it's where we are. And this brings me to the final player that I want to mention. And I think Gazzetta dello Sport described it as an explosive cocktail, which I think is a good bit of imagery. But basically, it's Rafael Leao. We're all here as Milanisti wanting him to do exceptional things at this World Cup. He scored a goal less than 3 minutes into his World Cup debut. Lovely finish with his right foot inside the far post. We're hoping that he comes on in the game that's on right now to finish Uruguay off. But with that and with these great performances, it becomes even harder to keep him. So what do we do? Suppressed support?
I don't think so. I'd rather, the situation is a situation, and it might be to do with the fine that he has with Sporting Lisbon, and that won't go away regardless of a good or a bad World Cup. But what will come with a good World Cup is that price tag in January, and that temptation that clubs like Chelsea are, that price tag might come in 120 mil, 130 mil, 150 mil, and that, I'm sorry, but you need to be sitting at the table thinking about make an executive decision and say, look, we maybe have to make a sale here. But I'd rather that than it comes in at, we need every fucking 10 mil we can get with this bloody management and ownership.
Absolutely.
But, so I'm always a bit on that impression. I want these boys to do really well out there. I don't really give a damn if Theo Hernandez does outstanding games and Man City come knocking. We haven't made a big sale in ages. Not to say I want to sell players, but if we have to, rather they go on a massive fee than go on a free.
Yeah. I also think on the Leao perspective as well, with the time left, right? Let's say
he's coming on right now, by the way, so he's got 22 minutes.
Oh, is he? He's coming on right now. Yeah. Brilliant. I mean, look, I think 1 year left as well. What these clubs have that we don't have is basically endless pockets, right? So let's say he did an okay World Cup, and maybe Chelsea or City go, oh, we'll wait a year and get him for free and pay him massive wages. If he's a blinding World Cup, no, I want him now. We want him now, and we'll pay. So absolutely,
or we might miss out. Yeah.
I think playing well only benefits us, really.
Yeah.
So,
and also, it is fantastic to have our name up in lights as a club, because I think people have been used to that. Milan players scoring at World Cups and being decisive at World Cups. Absolutely. I mean, after the entire first round of group stage games, there was us, PSG, Barcelona, and Fenerbahce, whose players had scored 3 goals, and that was the joint most. And it's like, that's where we ought to be, And I will mention Theo, because he's on 2 assists in 2 games. Which is absolutely fantastic for him. It's unfortunate, the circumstances, because obviously it's, Lucas has done his ACL, and therefore he's facing quite a long time out. But that does mean that he's pretty much got a nailed on starting spot for the rest of the tournament now. So a good chance for him to get some games together and show Deschamps that he is absolutely undroppable.
He's on what now? 7 goal contributions in 9 games in France.
Crazy.
So it's like
also reflective of our Maldini and the management. It reflects what a great job they're doing. So it's good
these
stuff.
are these are stats that forwards put up. At the end of the day, this is I didn't know why he wasn't starting in the first place, but France.
Deschamps defensive, isn't he? That's probably what it is.
He's too conservative.
It is, But, he prefers playing a flat back forward, doesn't he? But it won him the 2018 World Cup. So I was going to shout at him. I think Milan should play Theo on the right wing. I totally agree with you both.
Even up
so let us, anything like that. Let us know in the comments who you've been impressed with in terms of individual performances and players that Milan should maybe take a look at. No doubt there are other individual gems, like the Saudi Arabian team have seemed to have caught a lot of eyes with how well some of their players have played, especially in that win over Argentina. And Enzo Fernandez is another that's looking like a regret more than anything. He's been he's been exceptional since he joined Benfica, and he's now doing it for Argentina. Scored a great goal the other night. And yeah, he might be the one that got away. So I thought that this week we'd do something a little bit different. You can see it on your screens if you're watching on YouTube. But I said to the lads, since we'll have a little bit of World Cup group stuff to talk about and a couple of questions, let's do something a bit out of the box. And I tasked them with coming up with 3 hot takes. Now, everyone's familiar with the concept of a hot take. This might be more 3 devil's advocates as the feature goes on our website. But essentially, opinions that we all have on the squad, could be past, could be present, could be future, that we believe we can make a strong argument for. And I'm excited to see. None of us have seen in any real detail what the other's arguments are. And it should generate some interesting debate. We've gone with 3 each. We'll see how we're doing for time. But I'm going to go alphabetical order on first names, which means Lorenzo, you're up first.
Oh, yes, that is that's very true. Okay. Mine's, I think, something that you floated before the first one anyway, Ollie. I think you've either said it on the chat or in an article on the site previously. But it's, if we don't either start selling our good players for big fees when they're at the top, or start giving our star players the star wages that they deserve, as in like now, we will turn into a slightly better Dortmund and nothing else, and we'll establish ourselves as that moving forward. Yeah. Now, obviously, I've got to put a little argument as to why I think that. It's only semi because I think our history is too big and we're too big of a fan base. But I also don't think it's that far of a stretch to compare it again to Borussia Dortmund, who are also a very large club, also have European history. Not as big, not as grand, I understand. But if the football that we see today doesn't go down the Super League route in a quick time frame, or in a time frame that maybe suits Italian football specifically, and the Premier League is getting bigger and bigger. I mean, we're already feeling like we're left behind, let's be honest, in terms of what we can spend. I just feel like that seems more likely than not at the moment. And I want to know what you guys think about that.
Yeah, it gets no arguments from me. I mean, I've written 2 features about this.
I definitely put it before. Yeah,
I think in this environment, we need to be as smart as we can as a club, and proactive as well. And I personally think that exists to a certain degree, but contract renewals have been, not much to be desired about. I guess we've done a bit of work this start of this year. I mean, who we renewed now, like Pobega, Krunic, Tomori, Kalulu. I can't remember who else now.
There's been 8
Theo
renewals
in March.
This year.
Yeah. I mean, we know the 2 that probably should have been priority after Theo, and they haven't been done yet. One certainly will be an absolute travesty if he's not renewed or sold at a high premium price. And the other one, I think I can actually see being done. But I agree with what you're saying. I think we're in this position where we need to stick or twist with this. So
I want to add one last bit in that as well. I think you're right, Steph, that there's an element of it already. But obviously with Dortmund, there's an expectation that they make a player and they're going to sell it. There's no even consideration that they're going to keep it. I think we're just on that cusp where it's like,
what's next?
Yeah. What's next? Yeah, we could keep Leao and it'd be like Kaká or Paqueta or whatever, right? Okay, fantastic. But it could also then maybe this could become Hatton year after year. Our scouting is fantastic. We know that, but
in my opinion, there are very few situations in which a player who is at a club can be deemed totally untouchable. I mean, we live in a world where Neymar left being part of the best front 3 at the time to go to PSG because he wanted more money and he wanted the limelight. So if a player is willing to leave such a comfort zone and such an environment how can we turn around to Leao and say you shouldn't look for new experiences? You shouldn't look to better yourself. You know,
Neymar won everything at Barca, so I'd get it a little bit more. Like from a club, like he won the Champions League, he won leagues, he won Copa del Rey. So
at the end of the day, if he wasn't happy and he expressed that desire for a move, which I don't think he has, Leao, then that decision would have been done by now. But so it simply is. It's in our camp to get that done. And is he a player that we make exceptions to the rule about? 100%. I'm sorry, if you give Leao money that 6 to 10 mil, a figure in that ballpoint figure park, any other player in the club, probably other than Theo Hernandez, they can't. They get laughed out the fucking change room trying to ask for that fee. When you factor in the age and their capabilities of the squad right now, what they offer, I'm happy to make that decision. The only question mark is the sporting fine, which obviously is a big bit, but who knows? I don't know. But,
it's definitely the proverbial crossroads, isn't it? Like back to the original take itself, it's sort of either the wage bill needs to inflate or the transfer fees we're receiving needs to inflate so we can replace those players. And the wage bill has always been, has been for probably the last, I want to say 10 to 15 years, the big indicator of a club's sort of thinking and ambitions, because it shows how many players they've got that are in their prime years and therefore are getting the big salaries. And it can often be sorted out by age. And it says a lot about size of squad as well, which is why Juve and Inter are always way above us at the moment in terms of the gross salaries that they pay out. But yeah, that it's going to have to happen for us, because otherwise players will leave. And the point about selling Leao that so many people keep mentioning is sort of what we could do with the money, the 100 million, the 120 million that might come in. I mean, yes, you can buy 4 players at 30 million each that probably total up to the same salary as what you would have given Leao, and you better hope that all 4 of those players that you sign are hits. Otherwise, you will be scrutinised, rightly or wrongly. You'll be scrutinised to the end. I mean, I remember Spurs selling Gareth Bale, and they replaced him with, I think it's the Ewing. There's a basketball thing. I think it's the Ewing theory. Sort of what happens when you let the guy leave that you depend so heavily on, and there is a solid theory that actually it can make you stronger as a whole. But it relies on a lot of decisions going your way and a lot of calls going your way. So it'd be interesting. I mean, look, we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's too early to.
I would say if we lost Leao and we sold him for a big fucking, I would want a complete overhaul in attack. I want fucking Salamaker's gone, Macias gone. I wouldn't buy Diaz.
More sales.
Rebic fuck off as well. Like honestly, I'd reset the attack. Like other than probably keeping Giroud, and then look at it in like a wise decision. But like we need, we're so Leao ball dependent. We need something else. But anyway, let's move on to the next one.
Right, yeah, my go now, because O comes before S. Those are the rules. So mine is based on some comments that came out early today. Cafu, of course, Milan legend, gave an interview with Gazzetta dello Sport, and he basically criticised Milan's handling of Lucas Paqueta, who is obviously his compatriot and everything. So he's going to stick up for him, and now he's got a pretty big role in the Brazilian national team, and he got a 60 million euro move from Lyon to West Ham over the summer. Those are 2 things you can't ignore. My hot take on that is that Milan absolutely did not do the wrong thing by selling Lucas Paqueta. If he'd have stayed with us, he wouldn't be the player that he is today. It was the right thing for all parties involved for him to be sold. I'm glad that he's doing well as a result, but this idea that our team would now be complete with Paqueta in the 10 role, it just doesn't wash with me, because he got given 18 months, That's it.
I agree.
And I want to extend that as well to Andre Silva, because Andre Silva went to the Bundesliga. He banged in goals in the Bundesliga, and everyone was saying, if only we had a 38 million euro striker who could score goals. And oh, wait, we did. We had Andre Silva. No, that's not how it works. He wasn't a good fit for us at that time.
Yeah. And to everyone says that, I will recall El Shaarawy, who did better than both of those 2 players when he was at Milan. And he had a great, fantastic first year, had a massive decline. We made a decision as a club to not move on with him, and he's not gone nowhere in his career. So you can flip a coin and how they progress and how their environment and what league they go to, etc., goes down a certain route, you cannot say it's going to be replicated if he stays at your club. It's just simple as facts.
Butterfly effect sort of thing. Yeah.
So 100%,
I'll put money on the fact that I think Andre Silva, we've been proven he's very average now, and I would probably, looking at West Ham right now, okay, hasn't had that long to bed in. He has not set the world alight at West Ham. I do not think Paqueta is going to get any better than he was at Lyon at West Ham, if not get worse.
Totally agree. And Liga seems to be that kind of comfort zone where players go to rediscover themselves,
Absolutely.
We kind of seen it with Renato Sanchez, who looked like a world beater there. He's got his move to PSG and things haven't exactly gone to plan for him.
He was a Portugal mate. Santos loved him as well, from what I remember. And now, he's not there, is he?
Got his big move to Bayern and then ended up on loan at Swansea, was it, or something weird? I mean, that is crazy. So funny. And also, just as a final point on that, one thing I do think we have to praise is, I think of Krzysztof Piątek as well, for example, and then I think of us selling Paqueta to Lyon, and I think of the deal that we did with Eintracht Frankfurt for Silva, where we got Rebic in exchange and some crafty accounting to make it look like a big gain and stuff like that, to reduce the amount that we needed to pay Fiorentina for Rebic. And I think, actually, if anything, the praise goes to Maldini and Massara for managing to make those deals work for us. For us to get book value for those players and make sure that.
And Rebic brought, Rebic was huge to get the Champions League spot. He was huge.
Yes, double figures goals.
Yeah, he stepped up when Ibra went out injured. He was fucking massive. So, as much as I can shit on Rebic right now, he was huge in the last two. I mean, I love him to bits, and I hope he rediscovers his form. I don't see it happening. I think it's too many injuries now. But at the time, he's added some value to the
squad. Those goals paid for it, really, didn't it? If you think about it, I would agree.
Yeah, we kind of have to bring the value back all the way to the Silva deal. But I agree.
Yeah. Your go, Stefano.
Oh, you probably won't agree with my ones now, though. No, I'll start off with a safe one. No, actually, I'll start off with this one. I'm going to go historical because I like this one. Mattia Caldara is the worst ever signing by AC Milan in the history of the club. Wait for this. It cost us 37.4 million euros. He came off the back of a Bonucci sale to Juventus. Obviously, after that deal was a complete hash, but at least Bonucci played some games and we were able to get value off it. He's made 2 appearances since 2018 summer. He's still under contract, by the way, because we can't fucking shift him because no one wants to buy him. And he's our 5th most expensive signing in history of the club. 2 games he's played.
I just want to go on record as saying that I saw one of his 2 games. I was there at the Lazio Coppa Italia semi-final.
And now you have his shirt and you love it.
He went off after...
he
I think that's when he did his ACL the second time. The second time. Imagine doing your ACL twice, I do feel a bit sorry for the way that his career has panned out. But I'm finding it tough to dispute that when you take the base value of that transfer fee alone. We have had absolutely zero return on that investment.
And we will not get any money for him. His contract's up in the summer and he'll go on a free. That's
I completely agree with that.
Shocking.
Yeah. If you add up the amount of hours that Maldini and Massara have spent trying to find a resolution for his future, negotiating with clubs over loan deals and stuff, I bet that adds up to
legal
an
fees,
amount that is I don't know. I mean, more harm than good is, I think.
Yeah, I don't think you can dispute with those raw figures that you said. The only one that you even said it in your explanation that you could put a light to would be Bonucci, but more because of
expected.
Yeah, what we expected, and also how he treated us at the end and how he went back. But in terms of raw numbers, I think you're probably right, to be honest. Yeah. That is, in fact, when you told me and you told both of us, I was like, that is actually kind of crazy. That is
signed him on it's not a small salary that he's on either, which is what.
He's eating away in the salary book as well. Yeah. Which is a ramification to our squad right now. You
can't even throw names in there like Churchy that became comedy names during the banter era because he at least did actually score a goal.
He played more than 150 minutes or something like that. I think that's what I think I wrote down. Like 155 minutes.
150 minutes.
The one thing that I'll say about it in general is that I remember thinking at the time, because obviously Bonucci we knew was leaving, so we had to try and find something. It was obviously he wanted to go back to Juve. Juve could have bent us over a barrel with that and said, no, he's coming back on our terms. You need to get rid of him. But we actually got Caldara back, who at that time was still a fairly rated defensive prospect. Who
he came back from Atalanta to Juventus. And was doing fantastically well with them. So he had expectation, which also goes down to the whole Bonucci effect. If he's a bad signing as well, Caldara had expectations. I remember in 2018, I was like, "Oh, we smashed it. We got a younger player,
and we got Higuain." That was the.
That didn't. We were able to get out of that crap. That's the difference.
Yeah, I mean, I also think that this is a hot take I didn't have on my list, but I also think Higuain wasn't as disastrous as people made out either. I think he scored 8 goals, didn't he? Still in the end, we've had worse number 9s than that. But that overall package deal, I thought, oh god, right, we've got a good young defender and we've got a guaranteed 20 goal a season.
Looked like we came off better,
It felt like it, and the benefit of hindsight, Juve knew what they were doing. They always do, which is irritating. Well, maybe not so much recently, but at that time they seemed to get every deal with other Serie A clubs spot on.
Right.
You've got to think from that moment we've stopped doing business with them because.
And rightly fucking so.
Yeah.
Lorenzo, you're up next.
That's my take. You'll go.
Yes. This one's a bit of a fun one. I think it actually shouldn't be too long either. Off the back of that feature I did recently about putting the 2 Scudetto last 10 years, 2 Scudetto teams, 2010-11 and obviously last season. If Milan never had their financial issues and we kept Zlatan and Thiago Silva in their prime years, so the ones that they obviously had at PSG together, we would have had 8, maybe 9 Champions Leagues and 22 or 23 Scudetti.
Interesting.
And I'm talking,
So are we saying without the financial issues, yeah?
So if we hadn't sold them?
We just haven't, we've kept basically everything else, but we've got Ibrahimovic up front at 29. Bear in mind that I would say is his prime years because that's when he was his most prolific. And then Thiago Silva, who was just, what a defender he's now. Look, he's playing the World Cup still, 38.
Well, I think.
What do you think?
We should have won the league the following season. That was the Montari season. We should have been back-to-back Serie A champions.
That's a ref issue, so we can argue that either way. Effectively.
Yeah.
But
we obviously we had to sell them because Berlusconi's pockets were running out of juice, and he actually hung on for a few years after that. There's no doubt. I think that probably the difference is that putting a number on the trophies is a difficult one because what sort of assimilated from that was a period of Juve's dominance where people couldn't really get near them. So can you say having those 2 players makes the difference? At the end of the 11-12 season, you got to remember that 3 other players retired as well in Pipo, Gattuso, and Nesta. That's pretty big.
As well.
Yeah,
Seedorf left as well.
But they're stars. We would have attracted more stars. They would have been magnets of a kind.
But I think this is where, if you take away the financial issues at the time, then I'll give you agreement. But I think if we're just saying if those 2 guys stay and the reality that Berlusconi can't fucking pay anyone else, I'm sorry, but I can't back a team with Kevin Constant and a Cherby
and Zlatan up front,
and then Thiago Silva and then Zlatan up front. We'll be playing hero ball. It's what you're seeing at Juventus. Now Vlahovic is just kicking in and hopefully.
The Allegri factor is a pretty big one as well. It's would he have had the sort of drop off that he had if we'd have been able to keep the core of players together? If we'd have been able to even invest the money that we got from the Ibra and Thiago, because we basically just had to replace them on the cheap and pocket the cash that we made. So that is a real tough one. But
he's a boring manager, though. I think I look back now, and that Scudetto team was basically just kick up to Zlatan and Robinho, and obviously some class there in the side. But there was no way of playing, and I think look at the way we play right now with Pioli, and it's just much more fluid. Yeah, that's another story for another. I really look back and I think, fuck me, Allegri, and he is now. He's such a boring coach. Like,
It is boring, yeah.
Yeah. And to give a definitive answer to the take, I think we would have had multiple more trophies. Yes.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's an 8th Champions League. I don't know if it goes that far, but certainly we've got a second star by now.
Yeah.
Also, there's a penalty to Portugal, and Leao is stood close to the ball, but I don't think they're going to let him take it. Looks like it's
I don't think he's ever taken a penalty for us. I don't think he's ever.
I don't think he has. That's a really good question.
No, he hasn't.
I bet he'd be very good at it, because I think he's just like, he doesn't care. He'd take it with a smile on his face.
Saying to smile.
Yeah. He's still stood near the ball. It's not him, though. It looks like it's going to be Bruno Fernandes. Right, it's my go next.
Mm-hmm.
2022, Olivier Giroud has been absolutely fantastic for us. He scored some very important goals in the Scudetto running. The derby winning brace he scored in this derby. The winner away at Napoli, the equaliser away at Lazio, the brace against Sassuolo to win us the league. He started this season pretty well. He's scoring goals for France still. I think that his start to this season could actually be detrimental to us in a certain way, because we are going to hang on to him for a bit too long. I love Ollie. I really do. He's scored some massive goals, as I say, and I love everything that he brings. But he's going to be our starting number 9 probably for the rest of this season.
Yeah.
And I think that's problematic, because I think we play worse with him in the team. I'm going to be honest. I do not like the football that we play when we have such a static number 9 up front. He's a right place, right time kind of striker. If the ball arrives in his area, he will put it away. But we haven't been creating the right kind of service this season. And I think the goals that he has scored have papered over some of our cracks in our overall attacking play. I think the greater the urgency for us to go out and invest in a new number 9 who gives us more guarantees from a physical point of view and is beneficial to the way that we want to play. It's like the sooner that comes, the better. And Giroud scoring the odd winning goal here and there, it ain't helping that. The management are thinking we're okay when I don't think we are. That's my case closed.
I can't agree. I mean, because I think if we had money to spend, you might have a case. But what's been apparent for a year and a half, 2 years now, that we need a fucking right winger. Management know that. We all know that, but we don't go out and buy one. So if we needed a centre forward because Giroud weren't covering the cracks, would I trust them to also get that centre forward? No. And if Giroud wasn't scoring goals, as detrimental as it might be, because the overall play, who the hell else is going to score it? And we'll be in a worse position right now in the league table, thus not being able to spend on a striker and bring someone in to replace and maybe make us play better football.
As a caveat, as a caveat to the point as well, you look at the signings that we've made in the attacking department, and we made the decision to invest in a new number 10, and we decided to go for Origi on a free, thus meaning we'd signed Zlatan on a free, Giroud for 1 million plus 1 million bonuses, and Origi on a free. Obviously, 2 of those are 36 and above. One of them has been a bench player for the last few years. But that's okay, because we invested in the position that we really needed. We got our new number 10. We've now got 3 attacking midfielders, if you count Yacine Adli, who we spent 45 million on, could come up to 67 million, and none of them are good enough. So what's happened there?
Well, I want to go and comment on your original point about...
Yeah, that's fine.
About sorry. I agree and disagree. So I'm not quite like Steph, where I completely disagree. I agree with you to a point. So your aspect of where you said we're going to hang on to him a bit too long, i.e. this season, I disagree there. I think he's perfect for this season. I think they play great football, France. I think France will go deep no matter what. He's going to carry on his reign of form. I think also at a certain age, when you get older, this is me plucking out of my head, but the longer you play in form, the better it. Like the streak will continue, right? So he'll continue playing well into the second half of the season. Where I think it's going to go back sour is listening to Kier's comments yesterday, I think. He talked about Giroud, and he said, yeah, of course, Giroud, look at Oli. He basically confirmed, yeah, Giroud's going to stay next season. That's where I have a bit of a concern, because if he's a protagonist next season, that's where I'm like, no, we're hanging on to him too long. I think he has every right to be our main striker. I think he's earned it and deserved it for the rest of this season. I think he will score at least 5 or 6 more goals. But next season, that's where I think you're right. I think if we rely on him then it's too much, because I think he'll give him some good form.
Yeah, but then can you not see a scenario where he stays, and because we're looking at it, we've invested in Origi on a contractual perspective. Ibra can equally go. Rebic could equally go. Other players could equally go. I don't think looking at probably one of our best 5 players at the start of this season is a potential issue to look at us long term. I think he has a role to play even as he probably ages into 37, 38 years old, maybe as a rotation player. But certainly right now, you're looking at France's joint top goal scorer. Fitness is great. Injury record's great. Scores remarkable goals. I mean, I'm not saying he is going to age, but
I don't know. I think there's evidence of Giroud though going through lots of periods of not hitting. He goes through periods of hits, and he's been hitting a while, and he'll continue to do that. Maybe after the summer break, I don't know.
He's clutch, man.
He's worked overtime this season.
He is clutch.
Well,
I love it. I disagree with Ollie. I just think next season, I
understand the case. I understand the case, but
I also by hanging on too long, I think he's earned a renewal as well. I actually do think he's earned another year.
That's the double-edged sword.
And I'm fine with that, but I don't want us to keep thinking that he can start all these games. Just because he's fought through 13. No, he got more than that, didn't it? 17 starts in a row. That's an anomaly for a 36-year-old. He will break down eventually. So what I'm saying is, don't think that he is fine for the next 18 months. Okay. Go get that striker still, and let Giroud be a rotation player.
He's fine for this season. Next.
But I think this is an issue with the Origi decision. If that doesn't actually end up being a good move, which I still don't want to write him off yet, but I agree to that.
Steph, you're next.
Cool. Which one shall I pick? Okay, all right, I'm gonna go for this one. So a CDK loan move, whether it's January or maybe next summer, will completely finish his career at the club. His morale and confidence is completely shot, and it will not get any better if he leaves, even if on a loan deal, even if he's got a long contract. He needs to learn the league. He needs to learn the team. He needs to learn the culture. He probably needs to learn the fucking language as well. And go into maybe a club abroad isn't going to help that. There's a media effect, the price tag. And I think with history, as we've mentioned before, Paqueta, Andre Silva, going on respective loan deals or go into a different league abroad, it might be just a convincing way for him to say, you know what, maybe Italy's not for me. And even the club might just be like, maybe it just isn't right for you here either. I think any potential loan move will finish his career. Finish his career.
Finish his career. He's going to retire at the age of 24.
But I don't see a scenario where he goes out on loan and we're going to bring him back, and no Yassine. Well, you're seeing Yassine Adli issued that right now with reintegration, but I can't see it. I think he needs to stay and work his ass off, and then we'll just deal with the consequences. Maybe he gets it in 2 years' time. I'm not quite sure, but I'd rather that he stays here and he just fucking learns how to deal with this shit mentally than go out on loan to, I don't know, a Belgium side or a French side or a German side. He picks up form there. They might be interested in signing him. He might want to stay. I just think this is it. He needs to stay at this club.
He's definitely got the season, hasn't he?
He's got the season, of course.
Yeah, and Maldini said it correctly. We signed a 5-year contract with him, not a 5-month contract. Look at the players that we've had. It's been spoken about. I mean, Tonali didn't have to adapt to a new league, and it's his boyhood club that he joined. But he did, as it turns out, have to adapt to the club and to the expectations. And Pioli's intricate tactical instructions and everything. And second season is where he came good. It's arguably taken Leao into his third season to become consistent. That Theo was benched by Ricardo Rodriguez for most of the first half of the season, although that was Gianpaolo being a terrorist. But ultimately, he's definitely got the season. I think it's a very bad optic for us if we're to loan him out for the second half of the season. And if anything, Adley's going, isn't he? So it's a numerical thing more than anything.
I think even in the summer, though, I think if we learn that CDK in the summer.
No, we spent
we
spent so hard to get him, not just money, but like that. What was it, like 6 weeks negotiation, wasn't it? Chasing our tails for a long, long time. It would be admitting a lot of defeat if we just said. I agree, though, it might come to that, but I mean, I think it would be really bad.
The counter argument is the definition of insanity. How long do you keep doing the same thing and expecting different results if you give him 15, 20 starts in all comps in the second half, second part of the season, and he is dog shit most games? If he carries on being invisible like this, there comes a point where something has to give, but you then either give up on your investment and it looks like a colossal failure for Maldini, who I think has too much pride for that, or you totally reinvent him and does he become a box-to-box midfielder? Does he become an out-and-out striker or something? We cross that bridge when we come to it, don't we? But I think he's going to come back with hopefully a refreshed mindset after the World Cup.
Yeah, I think also going to your original point about what you said, I would agree that if we were to loan him out, that would be it. Yes, to answer that. Like, I don't think we will loan him out, but I think if we were to, that would be curtains for his Milan career.
I just think with him, and I'll just make this quite. It's such a long story with this. I think with the way we play, with Leao, sort of like Leao ball-esque, I just don't think it suits him. We've gotten so used to playing with transitional attacking midfielders like Brahim Diaz, who can actually collect the ball and good low center of gravity. I mean, you hate him, but like, they're polar opposite players, aren't they? Diaz and Cdk. And I think the team has gotten so used to playing with a Diaz or a Krunic that like CDK is just a bit completely different. I'm not saying we changed formation. We've also got this issue of apparent on the right side as well, which is making more pressure on him. I just don't know. I still have faith, though. Because we're just too clicked on tactically, and we grow players who are young. And I think he's still got amazing talent, the player. I think it's a mental block. As long as he gets rid of that, I think we're on to a solid player, and then he can eventually turn into a winner, a top player. But he's still very young as well, so we'll see.
That's the thing. You've got your players, your top players, your top players, and then your top players. We hope that you can just climb that pyramid.
Top squared.
Yeah, Lorenzo, you're on for the last one. I'm looking at the time, so we'll try to do quick responses.
This one should be also quite quick, I'm hoping. If we do not build our new stadium without Inter, this club can potentially not reach its full potential going into this new era that we're seeing in football.
Agreed. Next point.
Yeah, agreed.
It's quite a quick one.
If I'm the new owners, I'm saying to Inter, like, you've got a month to prove to us that you can put up the cash. Otherwise, we're going to have to go for this alone, because that gap between us and the elite clubs is growing and growing. And I would also F off to Sesto as quickly as we can, because the council can go F themselves.
Exactly, yeah. Bang on. And I think we need to just honestly, just fuck them off. Like, they got financial problems. We know that they can't afford shit. They can't even afford, like, to pay players' wages in the Scudetto winning season. Like, they have no future. They're busting out contracts for like 6 mil for Çalhanoğlu. Like, that's why I'm proud of our project in a sense, but it's a long story. But with the whole stadium thing, it's hard enough in that city to get anything agreed, because they want to keep us in that stadium because it makes money for the fucking city. Just get out while we can, because it's just basically detrimental to this club and its progression and how we can earn from match day gate sales, etc., etc. San Siro is amazing, but we could be making shit ton of money, even through hospitality. You see it in this country, England, like Tottenham Stadium, Arsenal Stadium, like amazing structures of fucking architecture and hospitality sections. How much money they make a game. We need to be tapping into that.
Like having baseball games over there, and things like that. Just bringing the revenue in.
You can't even drink in this country while watching a game. We can do that in Italy. Like it should be more encouraging to spend money while you're at. We can make so much money.
Volume is hit flask, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm absolutely fine with that.
Huddersfield, you can.
We need that. We need to forget the game.
Yeah, I agree.
San Siro's the only stadium that's made me audibly gasp, but it made me gasp because I saw it coming out of the metro, and it also made me gasp because it smells of weed and piss. So we also need to move. It will happen.
We'd break in if we left them there as well. We'd absolutely break, because if they had to cover both rent, both sides of the rent, it's like breaking up with someone and being like,
it's the greatest gift Cardinale could give us would be our own stadium.
Yeah, my final one. I don't know if this is going to cause you to kick off or not, but I'll argue that through this first part of the season, you can look back at our summer transfer window and say that it was really bad. I think that there were some obvious positions to address going into the summer. I think we needed a more reliable deputy to Maignan, and we didn't. We chose to go with Tatarusanu. I think that we should have signed a new deputy to Theo Hernandez, and we didn't. We thought Frodo Ballatore is fine. We let Romagnoli go, who's an experienced club captain, and we've replaced him with a 21-year-old from Schalke who has been pretty good in the bits that we've seen, but ultimately he's not at the same level of experience. We've brought in a right back that it doesn't look like is a great fit for our system, because we had to do that on a panic because we decided to buy an injury-prone Florenzi on a permanent deal, but he's still a good guy. I like Florenzi. Most important one for me, we didn't address the midfield at all. We thought that we would be fine loaning a 19-year-old Asta Vronks that Wolfsburg couldn't find any use for. We thought Pobega would be fine to try and fit in Kessie's shoes. The midfield is objectively so much worse, and I can't stress enough how much we are missing. Not even a Kessie clone or anything, but just a reliable shield for the defence that can allow Tonali and Benacer to do better what they do better. So I'm about all for it. We didn't sign a right winger. We decided to spend money signing Junior Macias, even though we all saw that he was not the man to take us forward. I think you can look at the Origi signing and say that was a bit of a flop. And as for CDK, the jury's out. Ultimately, he hasn't yet made a contribution. So, bar an assist. So I think you can give a 3 out of 10 or something for our summer market.
You mentioned Origi as well. I can't remember. But you might have.
Yeah.
You did, yeah.
I mean, there's not much to mention,
Yeah, it's been pretty. I don't know.
It's not a hot take, perhaps, but I just don't think people talk about enough that we give Maldini and Massara so much credit for what they've done with the money available, and they didn't have as much money as you would hope a Scudetto winning director duo should have. And Pioli does like to slowly integrate his new signings, and nothing will be rushed. So maybe in the second part of the season, these players come out and prove me and other people wrong. But that is not a Scudetto winning side's following summer window. It was some pretty poor recruitment. We got even younger across the board, and really I think we could have done with some experienced pieces to bolster us rather than sort of relying on kids who need 12 months to come good. That's me.
I mean, I think, all right. And I think if you were to believe everyone on Twitter who had the answers, and I agree with you. I actually agree with you. It was a poor summer. It's in relation to what we could spend. Obviously, no ownership, that comes into that whole factor. So maybe is yet to be seen on how much maybe we spend in January or maybe next summer, what the future is for this club. But also, if you were to believe everyone on Twitter that ranks Malik Chow and Yassin Adli should be starting games, it kind of like goes against that opinion though. Because the players that we already are playing, like Pobegas and your Kruniches and your Gabias, who were already here. Obviously, Pobegas just come in, but he was owned by us. But like they're not good enough. Yet they were in most of them were in the Scudetto winning side. But these players that we have signed in who come from a bad market should be starting games because they're young and everyone thinks they're really good based off a YouTube compilation video of like 7 minutes in a friendly. Like, I mean, I agree with you, but I don't get why everyone's like. I think Ranks has got talent, but you're right about his history at Wolfsburg, wherever he came from. Malik Chow, you know, these are all young, talented players. Yassin Adli as well, but I'm sorry, but I don't understand the convincing element that they should be starting games for a Scudetto winning side. Yeah, they had a bad summer, so
got to earn their stripes.
Yeah, I agree with you though. It's been pretty poor based off what we've seen so far.
So far, that is the caveat.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll see at the end of the season, won't we?
You're gonna love this one, Lorenzo. You're gonna love this one.
Come on. I already know what it is. I think
we should buy Brahim Diaz.
We should buy Brahim Diaz. Okay, can I start on this one?
Yeah, go for it, man. I'm gonna let you go.
Wait. I haven't said my I didn't just say shit.
So to clean boots is the next bit.
And night.
Let me just read this. There's about 1 point now, I'm joking. Firstly, there's a buyback clause.
Yeah.
5 mil profit we can be made. And if we were to believe what we say, you know, like it might be like Real Madrid just trying to like fuck with us, so we buy him, and then obviously they could make 22 mil because they had no intention of on the buyback clause. But if they did, there's a potential chance to make 5 million off it, which is something considering we've nurtured this player for nearly 3 years now. He's the only centre attacking midfielder who offers like actual transitional players. You know, like obviously we mentioned about CDK, completely different. Krunic can't do that. We tried Kessie in it before. He still has potential upside, despite, you know, because of his age. I know he won't grow in height. I know he might grow in strength, maybe, if he's sort of looked at his ripped abs from the summer. And he knows the system, he knows the team. And I think there's, you know, 22 million euros for us is a bit of money. I just think like there's worse players who give us like no output. Rebic, Origi, the right side. You know, he puts up okay numbers so far. I'll wait to see how he does towards the end of the season. I think that's the caveat there. Let's see how he does. If he can maybe get into 8 goals this season, I think that's a decent signing. Yeah.
No, I can't disagree with that more. I think we've seen so much football from Brahim Diaz. He has played near enough 2 seasons now.
Yeah, 2.5 now. Yeah, well,
2.5.
A third.
Yeah, he's played a lot of football, and I don't think he's done near enough for the importance that he's been put on the team. Wearing the number 10 shirt for Milan, it's not a joke. And yeah, first of all, the physicality, right? This annoys me so much because he is a player that is so suited to the Spanish league. It's a joke. Like he is La Liga personified for me. I would say it's no secret that the Premier League is the most physical league. I would say in the top 5. I would say it's shortly on the heels with the Italian league next in a different way. But the Italian league is definitely the next most physical league in world football. Top 5 anyway. I'm sure the Czechoslovakian league is probably way more physical, but yeah. And he's not good enough for that. You need if he was David Silva on the ball, it would be fine. It wouldn't be a problem. It would not be a problem. But you look at all the fantastic, skillful players that have played in the Serie A. More often than not, they are big-ish. Okay, and I think 22 million is a lot of money. I also think that developing a player for another club that I think, frankly, aren't even going to use him that much. He will sit on the bench as a rotation player while Real Madrid win another Champions League and a Copa del Rey, and they've taken an important piece from us. I think is always a slap in the face. Yeah, I mean, I could go on, but I mean they're my main reasons. I don't understand your statistics about him doing very well either. I don't think his numbers are good enough for the amount of football he's played.
Well, he's on 4 goals and 1 assist so far this season. I think my argument is that look around the rest of the side, who's really, other than Leao and Giroud, who's putting up numbers like that. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's more than Macias. It's more than
Origi.
More than Origi.
but
he's adaptive. You know,
but they're not.
Why
being
did we stick with? Why did we not stick with playing him on the right? Why on earth did that stop? Because it worked well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. He'd be less bullied on the right.
He doesn't stat pad against like.
I mean, he scored against Juve. That's crap.
Well, yeah, and he scored an incredible goal against Juve.
He's got. I think, do you know what it is, Steph, that annoys me more about Brahim Diaz is that he is clearly so talented. He clearly has such a good footballing brain, his dribbling, everything else, but he falls short every single time.
I would argue the opposite. I think he's got all of the raw capabilities to, even if it's in La Liga, to be a very, very good creative player between the lines, be that as a wide midfielder, be that as a number 10. But it's his brain that annoys me so much because he turns himself into trouble and he doesn't know. He started doing it a little bit. I think there's some glimmers of hope this season, but he got so easily pinned and shadow played by number 6s, not even good number 6s last season. Like teams that played a deep block found it so easy to stop him last season because he just kept doing the same thing. He just kept losing the ball and something needs to change that. I said on Twitter as a joke, and I kind of actually think that there's something in this, that maybe we could con footballing hipsters by converting him into a box-to-box midfielder and saying there's Gavi, Pedri, and Brahim.
Yeah, I think I saw that too. Yeah, it was quite funny.
But like, I think we're talking about CDK having a really bad. You know, who knows how we finish the season. And we don't make the decision to sign Diaz because, all right, but then what? We down for sure should probably sign someone who's better than Diaz then, because if
who's some hour on a free.
Well, there may be something in that, but I don't know. I think he can probably get better with age. You know, you talk about smaller players. I remember growing up watching Papu Gomez, someone in his mold. He's what CDK wants to be, but no, I don't think the size is detrimental to an extent, but he can work off that. He can become more intelligent as a player. I think he's got skill. I just think there might be some value in it, and I'm just also saying, even if Real Madrid instigate a buyback, we made 5 mil, so there's even that possibility.
I mean, yeah, but this is the thing. I think 5 mil is great, and I would say that's not a lot, but I think actually for Milan it is quite a lot for us. But I mean, that's 2 years. Yeah. There's 2 years of development for that, for a player that you can argue helped us win the league. Of course, and I'll agree with this, and I'm sure everyone would. Every player helped us win that Scudetto. So I'm not gonna say, as much as I don't like Brahim, I'm not gonna say didn't count. Of course he did. Every goal, every assist, although it might count on one hand, they helped, right? But like 2 years, I don't know. I don't like the operation of a deal like that. You're strengthening a European competitor in theory, and they've just kind of gone.
The deal's the deal. It is what it is. My whole take is that we either walk away post end of the deal, or we sign him, or try to sign him, and then they buy back. I'm not arguing the deal was bad. The deal was probably bad. Yes,
it is bad. No other club does.
What do we do come the end of this in the summer?
I think Bayern selling on in a few years. That would be my ideal scenario.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the latest report is that we're going to try and negotiate some kind of discount. So if all of a sudden that 22 becomes a 15 or a 12,
then absolutely. I think. Look, there's potential we can turn it around, but look, let's see how we finish the season.
Yeah, and I just want to end with one listener question. Then I promise we'll wrap up. Because I haven't asked it to you two guys because it's been so long since you've been on the podcast, but we got a couple of questions about this. Would you, under any circumstances, take Frank Kessie back?
If he did the walk of shame like in Game of Thrones, maybe.
See, I noticed neither of you said no straight away. There's a lot of people who say
what's the conditions, though? One like a loan, like a dry loan, because I'm not paying for him.
No,
the dry loan.
You wouldn't be anywhere. Steph.
We can't pay for him, and we can't facilitate the wages that he's on right now in Barca. So,
so let's say hypothetically speaking, it would be
hypothetically speaking, like a dry loan. Nah, fuck that. Sorry, get someone else. No, not to be
The
like.
ship
I'm
has
sorry.
sailed.
He'll come in and but then, as you said, what's the goal in the end of it? What's the goal? Like, I think we can personally get top 4 again. As he help us win the league? Maybe. I think there's more addressing issues than the centre midfielder like that to help us win the league. I think we need a few other things. I don't know.
I don't think he'd be mentally strong enough for the banter with the fans as well. Like he'll get everyone will banter him. Like you don't leave.
Yeah.
Not that he left like Hakan, obviously.
We need to play ranks instead, or like Adley needs to play at fucking goalkeeper, or I don't know, man. Like anyway,
I think the fact that it might even be thought about, like people might think about how much we need. That should be
there's a lot more fish in the
that we
sea.
need.
Do you know what I mean? It's like going back to next. Like there's a lot more fish in the sea.
I'm 50-50. I'm 50-50.
The reason that it has come about is because Carlo Pellegatti, who is a pretty well-linked journalist when it comes to Milan's affairs, said that he's instructed his agent to sort of test the waters because he wants to come back. But Milan rightly consider the chapter closed. That's the headline from it, really.
We don't want Euro.
I mean, they made his renewal hell for us after promising to renew. Yeah. So I don't see why we turn back. But I don't. There's no ill wishes either because he went out with that salute for the third goal in the title-winning game, and that was sort of his goodbye. I almost don't want it to be any different from that. That was the right way to go. And yeah. That's it, boys. I'll wrap up now. 1 hour and 10. AJ's going to be furious because he has to edit this. But thank you very much, both of you, for joining. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll do some more rotation while the World Cup is on and stuff. But I've been your host at Ollie Fisher. Lorenzo, you can sign off.
Yeah, thank you, guys. It's been a good one, and you almost got me there with Brahim, Steph. So well done, mate. Well done.
Yeah, Steph, cheers for joining, mate.
Yeah, pleasure to join. Sorry if I've offended anyone with my Adley ranks and Malik Chow slander.
Twitter slander,
yeah. Enjoy the rest of the World Cup, everyone, and hopefully we can renew Leao and he doesn't score 50 goals coming. I don't know. I'm just.
He had a shot that went just wide, but apart from that, he didn't do an awful lot.
Right, that's another 50 off his value then.
Yeah.
50p. They subbed him on and then went defensive. So that was a strange one from Santos. But everyone drop a comment as well with your hot takes. It'd be good to get a discussion going in the comments section or the replies on Twitter, whatever it might be, because I'm sure we've all got them somewhere. But it'd be good to hear what other people think about the state of the team, be it past or present. Thank you to everyone who watched this far, and we will catch you in a week's time.
Eccolo Ante in area di rigore, Ante, vibra, gol! Vediamo se è buono, ce lo dà buono,